I want to place on record, and especially for those who continue to criticize us unnecessarily. I use the word unnecessarily, Mr. President, because in a democracy it is normal for those who have sought public mandate and were elected into office to be criticized. We are not opposed to that. But when people deliberately falsify things about us, when people deliberately try to call us out as people who do not know and Mr. President, the tax reform bills we have just passed is a glowing example of how we work. Beyond sometimes the call of duty, it is almost 7 p.m. now. In the last 6 months, we have remained focused on trying to drive these tax reforms. Let it be noted again that these bills were first presented to us in November of 2024, and we had our first reading in November 2024, as well as our second reading. I assure the Nigerian public that having done the second reading, we are going to commit these bills to public hearing. Relevant stakeholders to ensure to the public. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we had the first and second reading in November 2024. I want to emphasize that between our second reading of this bill and today, we had 39 different engagements with different stakeholders, ranging from the executive arm of government and people in charge of the Presidential Task Force, to members of civil society and professional organizations, some of whom took part in our public hearing. There have been series of meetings, there have been series of engagement. Even as a Senate, we set up our own committee of seasoned senators who had engaged in various aspects of public life. Some had served as governors, some served as permanent secretaries, some served as honorable ministers, and from different walks of life, to even be able to advise ourselves. Let it also be said that we chose not to grandstand on this. And the fact that in rounding up yesterday, we spent more than half of the day holding a closed-door session. Why are we doing all of this? It is because we recognize that the times are hard for our people. The times are unusual for our country and for the global economy. And we chose to also remind ourselves constantly that this is not the time to grandstand. This is the time that as a parliament, we must do everything possible to cooperate with other arms of government in overriding public interest to ensure that we are able to give the necessary impetus and the legal framework to good governance in this country. People should not mistake our refusal and intentional decision not to grandstand for being a rubber stamp parliament, as some people will be eager to describe us as a parliament. So I just want to say that We believe that we have done what we did in the last 6 months in overriding public interest, and we are willing to do more. It's about our midterm in office at the 10th Senate. And we are focused as to what we are going to spend the rest of our time here doing. We are concerned about the national security of our country. And that's why listening to the Honorable Minister of Defense yesterday at his press conference, describing as unnecessary our resolution to hold a national security summit, I thought that was funny. And my own message to the Honorable Minister is that it is our resolve to hold a national security summit. And I can now understand why some of the security summits in the past did not go any far. Because if the Honorable Minister in charge of defense himself would even think it was not necessary for us as elected representatives of the people to want to hold this summit, then I'm concerned. But we are consoled by the fact that we know that there is a new sheriff in town, an elected president who understands the need to work with the parliament and who will not take for granted the resolutions of this parliament. I therefore say to the Honorable Minister, when it is time to hold that national security summit, we will invite him and other relevant stakeholders, and he should be eager to honor our invitation. And finally, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, let me just say that we remain focused. Having passed the tax reforms, we are moving on to work on electoral reforms. And we are moving on as well to work on constitutional reforms. We are very clear as to our mandate and our agenda, and we will remain undetracted and not allow any form of negative attitude or deliberate shenanigan, which in most parts are politically motivated rather than being in overriding public interest, to distract us. We will continue to do what we have to do in the interest of the Nigerian people who elected us here, and we are not going to allow anything to distract us. Not even us distracting ourselves. We will come in here as serious people who understand our rules, who will guide ourselves by those rules, who know that we are privileged to be part of an institution. The Senate is an institution and is bigger than any individual. I thank you once again, Mr. President, on behalf of all of us, and I'm sure you know that those who felt, I'm sure you know, sir, that those who felt that by now this Senate would have asked you to step down have seen now that we are focused on what we are doing, and it doesn't matter whatever the level of allegation against any one of us, we will always ask for evidence, and we will do what is in overriding public interest. I just want to thank you, and I thank all our colleagues.
I wouldn't have answered you to step down. Who told you I was going to step down? You know, if you watch what as the current revelations in America, you realize that there are some black people, because of their skins, who went to prison, sometimes 37 years, sometimes 27 years, some 25 years, for false allegations. So I'm not one of those people who that you will say will step down for false allegation. Then when eventually it is proven that the allegations were false, they will say, oh, we are unfair to Akpabio. No, I'm not that bad. So if you had that in mind, please cancel it. So having said that, I must thank you for the words that you have spoken today. But I also know that in the course of your speech, you did not indict, but you reported the Honorable Minister of Defense to the Senate. I think the Senate will look into that issue. If the Honorable Minister of Defense has any objection or any issue with any resolution of the Senate, he shouldn't do so in the market. He should get in touch with the Senate President or the Senate elders. Senator Ningi, I think I'm speaking your mind. He should get in touch with us, not to go and speak in the open. And it will amount to executive, legislative brouhaha. So we will take that up at the appropriate time. So I thank all my colleagues. I thank you for the confidence, and I assure you that we'll continue to do our best. But most especially, the credit goes to the 10th Senate for remaining focus. Accordingly, this Senate is hereby adjourned to Tuesday, the 13th day of May 2025 at 11 a.m. prompt.